The country boy is also about to star in his first dramatic role. It's a Hallmark Hall of Fame special called Foxfire, and we're certainly happy to have him on our show for the first time. Please welcome John Denver. You know, country boys have an expression. It's called tall cotton, and I have to say, for a guy who's kind of dipping in and out of acting, you sure work with some great people.
I get to stand in tall cotton very often. I'm lucky.
Yeah. Now, Foxfire, you're working with, I guess we have called the Royal American Couple of Theater here in the United States, Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronyn.
American treasures, yes.
Yeah. Now, what do you go into a situation like that with? I mean...
Fear.
Fear? And?
Actually, not fear, and I didn't feel intimidated, although I think anyone would have every right to be going into that situation. Hume and Jessica are wonderful. We had a great director, and they made me very comfortable, and I really feel like I was stepping into water way over my head.
Yeah. Are they as gracious as I hear they are?
They're the most wonderful people you've ever met. Just...
I mean, I'm trying to imagine a career in the theater with your wife working as they do so often together. It must be extremely gratifying on a couple of levels.
I would think so, and it would be, in my opinion, very, very difficult to work with. You know, the person who you're spending all of your time away from work with is also the person you work with. It seems like that ought to be almost impossible, but they have done it incredibly well in the most wonderful and mutually supportive way, and to see them work together is just, it's awesome.
Yeah. Now, you play Dillard Nations, and the Cronins are your parents in the film.
Yes.
And you're kind of, I don't know, going through a rough period in your life, your career. You're a singer.
Yes, and not very successful singer. And one who, like many young people in Carolina, Georgia, around that area, has felt the need to drift away from the country life and into the cities. And that's sort of the source of the story. And then my father, Hume, has passed away, and we see his ghost throughout the film, and then some flashbacks. And I'm trying to get my mom to move away. I'm worried about her being up here all by herself in the mountains.
Are you worried about her being up there in the mountains, or are you concerned with that property being very valuable?
Well, that actually gets to be a little bit of slice of the story. I'm concerned for her.
I see.
You know, and I think I'm very sure that comes through.
Okay, we have a clip from Foxfire. Let's take a look at it.
Now, I ain't gonna say no prayers. I just want you to listen to me. You ain't so young no more. You're up here all on your own, no one around. Supposing you had an accident. You let Pa rest and come live with us.
I ain't seen you look so serious since you used to talk about your music.
I ain't talking about music now.
Now, you listen to me. You're talking about your pa resting. And he is, right here, up in the old orchard with his ma and pa and your little brother and sister. And when my time comes, I'm gonna lay right down there beside him, and nothing's going to change that. Not you, no Florida, no nothing. Your elbow's digging into my knee, son. You're gonna have to move.
Well, I'd sure sleep a lot better if you was off this mountain.
Maybe you would. But I ain't stepped in another bed since I was married, and I ain't about to.
And I ain't giving up on it, Ma. I swear I'm gonna keep after you.
Very interesting. Now, Dillard Nations is divorced. He has a couple of children in the film.
Well, he's not divorced yet. His wife has just left him.
Oh, I see.
But he has 2 children.
And his career is kind of iffy at that.
Well, he's a struggling singer. He has an album out, and he works little small clubs around the southeast mostly, but he's not really successful.
Yeah. The major difference, I suppose, between you and Dillard is that your careers have been yours has been extremely successful. On the other hand, you have gone through divorce and separation and so forth with 2 kids. Do you draw on that when you?
Oh yes, all of that, and you find so much to work with, especially with a few tips and coaching from Hume and Jessica and Judd Taylor, our director. The hardest thing for me in the film was singing. I perform a couple of songs, and I had to sing not well, out of tune, and with an accent. And
give me an example. Can he?
Well,
how does John? Because I've been to your concerts and I've gone to some of the things up in Aspen.
Yeah.
And You don't need a microphone. You don't need anything. You're clear as a bell. How do you? I guess it is hard to sing
Well,
off key.
I don't know. I've seen this once, and that was very, very difficult to do. To sing, I had to have an attitude. I'm acting. I've got an accent, and I'm not really a good, successful singer. So it sort of came out like, I got a feeling called the blues. Oh Lord.
Well, we're so starved for
Very
variety
nice.
today. All right, the film is Foxfire. It airs this Sunday, December the 13th. One of the issues certainly is something very near and dear to your heart, and that's the ecology of this planet. And in this particular spot, just an area of land that certainly does play a pivotal part. And we'll continue our discussion with John in a moment. Hi, we're back with John Dever. We left John discussing the ecology and environmental aspect of this particular program, and your involvement in that. Is that one of the things that attracted you to Foxfire?
There were a couple of things. One, the whole Foxfire tradition, the books about learning some of the old ways, learning the heritage of these people who live in the mountains. And the story is that there are a lot of young people who are moving away, going to urban centers to find jobs, to find work, a more exciting life as far as they're concerned. And a lot of these old people are dying off. Their land is being sold to big developments. And we're losing a great heritage. We're losing a lot of knowledge, the old ways of doing things, how to make a barrel, for instance, and how to take care of bees, and a lot of wonderful old wives' tales, like you know how to get rid of a wart?
Do I know how? No.
Well, one of the ways is if you take a rock and rub it on the wart and put it in a handkerchief and leave it at a fork in the road, when somebody comes along and picks up that handkerchief and takes the rock out of it, they'll get your warts. So this is the kind of stuff...
What happens if they pick it up and bring it back to you?
Well, you're in real trouble then. But these are the kinds of things that are in all of the old Foxfire books.
Yeah.
So one of the things that was interesting to me, I know out of personal experience with the Indians all over our country, with the Eskimos up in Alaska, with people in parts of Europe, that the story of young people leaving home, going to urban centers, and leaving their families who to a large degree are sort of dying off, and with them their knowledge, their traditions, their heritage. This is something that's happening all over the world, and it was that more than anything else, I think, that really keyed me to want to do this role.
And we were talking briefly during the break. It seems that Foxfire is become enormously successful and popular, not as a movie, or not as the Hallmark Hall of Fame, but as a play.
The play has been shown many places around the world, and in places like Sweden and Norway, one of the stories that I heard is there's a troupe in Norway that goes on a boat up into the fjords, and they're little villages, and they dock, and the ship turns into the stage, and they do the play there. Foxfire is drawing the largest audiences in the history of this troupe, and this is the story in many places.
A lot of things have happened to you in the 20 years since you wrote Leaving on a Jet Plane for Peter, Paul, and Mary. I want to read an excerpt that was written about you by Mike Koblik, a fellow member of the Mitchell Trio. The enormity of his success is both a blessing and a curse. His loyalty to friendships from earlier performing years continues. He goes on to add that you send them things, albums and gifts and so forth. But he is also forced into isolation that is terribly confining. A casual errand to the grocery store is impossible. Is that one of the reasons, this was written in 80, was that one of the reasons you moved up to the mountains, in part?
Not so much to get away from that. I really find a lot about the mountains that keeps me fairly level-headed, my feet on the ground. I think it would be very, very difficult for the kind of person that I am to live here in Los Angeles or in New York. In Aspen, however, I am able to go to the grocery store if I want, and it's not too big a deal. In the summer or the winter, if there are a lot of tourists, I'm asked for an autograph. I prefer not to do that. I like to shake hands with people, and if they want to take a picture of me skiing, they have to catch me on the slope.
Well, let me ask you about the autograph thing, because a lot of people, I believe in the ripple effect. There are some people that are very gracious when they say, I just don't do that. And there are other people who cannot seem to negotiate that encounter with someone. Why is it difficult, and why do you find it uncomfortable? And I know some people do, and they have every right to feel that way. Well, it's hard for the people to understand that.
There are occasions when it's easy to sign an autograph, and when it's something that you're very happy to do. If you're sitting down at dinner, or if you're on some kind of a schedule and there are hundreds of people around, and one person comes up and says they'd like their autograph, then half of everybody else is going to do the same thing. And if you do one, you can't not do
having signed
the rest
autographs,
of them,
I understand what you mean, yeah.
The other thing for me, though, is I think that autographs are an excuse. It's like people want to come up and look you in the eye and see if that's the person that they like in the music, or like on television, say, I really enjoy watching your show. That's what they want to do. And that is a personal communication that comes through. But when you start signing autographs, it's down here like this, and somebody shoves another piece of paper in your hand, and somebody else.
Assembly line.
You don't get to look in their eyes, you don't get to shake hands, and there's no communication there. So that's the thing that I object to most specifically about it.
I was going back looking at material, and it's like a curtain came down in 1982. As far as press material, you've continued to record, but as far as having sort of a public profile, nothing at all about John Denver. Is that, is that engineered? Is that on purpose?
Well, I'm trying to keep a little bit lower profile. I also haven't had, the real big record success or done anything here in this country that warrants a lot of press attention. I did the first public concerts in the Soviet Union by an American artist in over 7 years, and had a small role to play in reopening cultural exchange between our two countries, but that doesn't seem to be something that the press writes about. There's some other things like that, but not the thing that's splashy.
Well, we're going to get a chance. We'll get a chance to hear him sing off-key.
Off-key. Oh, God.
And according to him, not terribly successful at it, or we'll find out how successful he has been at it. Thank you very much, John Denver. The dramatic debut is Sunday night, December 13th. It's called Foxfire, and it evidently is lighting a fire under a lot of people who have seen it. Thanks, John Denver. We'll be back.
Sure, I remember the home place. Sure, I remember it clear. Because the day that I left her was just this time of year. I can see her smile almost every mile, but my feet took to walking. My feet took to walking. There's no sense in talking it out. All the dreams that never were.